Ooh, 19 degrees. The hell? This is balmy. It was literally like -4 outside this morning. I'm honestly kind of surprised by this. Sculpture art. Whew. Ancient aliens. If there is one piece of pseudoarchaeology that most people are familiar with, it has to be Ancient Aliens. The television series and the books that it is based on has permeated so far into the modern consciousness that it is practically ubiquitous. It's generated spoofs, memes, spin-offs, and has become a cultural phenomena in and of itself. And most of us are here because we're probably familiar with it in some way, whether you watched it and believed it for some time, or whether it's something that you throw on with your friends after you've all, packed a bowl. I also stumbled across it as a kid and was like, huh? And now I do pretty much that exact same thing in front of a camera. Beautiful full circle moment kind of thing. Love it or hate it, it is nothing if not entertaining. So I'd been planning to make a video about Ancient Aliens for a long time, because it's kind of a gimme. And then, a couple weeks ago, I get a text from one of my friends. And the text says, Eric Von Daniken just died. And I'm gonna be totally honest, I was devastated. I know that everything I say sounds sarcastic. I don't do intonation very well sometimes, but I promise you I am not being sarcastic. If you recognize the name but can't quite place where, it's because Eric Von Daniken is sort of the creator of Ancient Aliens. He was inspired by many before him, but he wrote the original texts that the Ancient Aliens show is based on. Books like Chariots of the Gods and many, many, many others. While I fundamentally disagree with Eric Von Daniken's theories, his loss honestly hit me kind of hard. I mean, he is partly the reason that I'm here doing what I do today, and his works are something that have sort of inspired me to go on to do this. And while I could write a whole essay about the impact that these theories have had on archaeology and, the human psyche as a whole, that's not what this video is for. And so I thought together we could pay our respects to the late, great Eric Von Daniken in the only way that I know how. Watching pseudoarchaeology videos and drinking alcohol. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Milo Rossi, and today, in memory of Eric Von Daniken, we are going to come together and watch an episode of Ancient Aliens.
We take a look back through the Ancient Aliens archives to the show's very origins to examine the evidence that we are not alone. We have never been alone.
Oh, Jesus. Another day in the office, sitting on my couch. What a time to be alive. Shockingly, it seems like I'm not the first person to think of doing a drinking game for Ancient Aliens. And there are more than a few of them, but I like this one the most because it's very simple. This is just from someone on Reddit. There are 3 rules. Drink every time someone says ancient astronaut, theorists say or believe. Take a drink every time they say, and if so. And take a drink every time the alien hair guy appears. I assume that can only mean Giorgio Tsoukalos. I'm gonna add 2 additional house rules to this just to spice things up a little. I'm not super familiar with like the vocabulary of Ancient Aliens, but if they're anything like other forms of pseudoarchaeology, we gotta add one in there for every time they say mainstream history, mainstream archaeology, etc. And of course, the final house rule is take a big swig if you see our boy Eric Von Daniken. I'm dedicating this to him, and so I think it's only fair that I gotta pour one out because he is the man behind the legend here. Let me write down my rules while my handwriting is still legible. All right, I think I'm ready. My drink of choice is this mysterious, completely unlabeled bottle. I have no idea what it is, but it came to me in a dream, and when I woke up in the morning, it was sitting there in my sink. This is a cider that was brewed by one of my buddies who does ciders with varietals of apple that they would have grown in like colonial era New England. So this is a pretty close parallel to what our founding fathers would have drank. If they could see me now, how horrified they would be at pretty much everything. But it will be our drink of choice for this. As you also may be aware, for anyone who has made or drank home-brewed alcohol, who fucking knows what it's gonna do? Maybe it's water, maybe it's absinthe. There's really only one way to find out. So I could finish this video completely fine, or I may not be able to finish this video at all, and you will hear sirens. Wow, the founding fathers must have had some weird tastes, or really bad breath, rather. Okay, what the fuck are we doing here? What is this even streaming on? Where do we watch Ancient Aliens? You can find it on Peepo. You can find it on Squeeble. You can find it on Grobus, but only if you have a Plingle subscription. Apple TV. Okay, so something that I didn't know is that there are like fucking 7 different Ancient Aliens series. There's Ancient Aliens like Lost in New York, I don't know, and like Ancient Aliens Two Towers or something like that. Ancient Aliens 4 in the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. That works actually all too well. Now from my brief peruse over the catalog, it seems as though Ancient Aliens is beginning to get to the point where it's really starting to run out of ideas, which is not shocking when the show has been running for 20 some odd seasons. That's how I ended up finding Ancient Aliens Origins, which seems to be sort of like a boiled down like hit list of the best points that they've made in the last 76 years of airing this TV show. So I think we're gonna just kick it off with that, and we're gonna watch Ancient Aliens Origins, Season 1, Episode 1, Extraordinary Engineering. It's an hour and 23 minutes. I can't imagine how. And I'm gonna just go in completely blind, armed with a 5-rule drinking game and a bottle of alcohol that made George Washington's teeth fall out. Let's get right into it. Why is this rated V for violence? They're gonna beat the shit out of Giorgio Tsoukalos.
Ancient structures built with enormous stone blocks.
Oh, no.
Solid granite cut with laser-like precision. And accounts of astounding technological capability.
I'm gonna say right off the bat, this is gonna be really hard, guys. The benefit that I have with all the pseudo-archaeology stuff that I do watch is that it's not edited like reality TV show, but this is, and that makes it a lot worse.
For nearly 2 decades, Ancient Aliens has traveled the globe.
Oh shit, does that count as Giorgio being on screen twice or once? Oh, this is gonna be awful. I see why people warned about drinking when the aliens guy appeared. I'll do that once.
Towering megalithic structures, mysterious artifacts.
Eric, woo, drink.
In a quest for evidence that might reveal the truth of our extraterrestrial origins.
Yo, we got the Dendera light. Honestly, drink if there's something that was in an episode of Awful Archaeology.
How cool is it to be able to look back 10, 11, 15 years ago of Ancient Aliens?
Hey, George.
We now have about 300 hours worth of content.
Yeah, it just goes to show you how much evidence there is for ancient astronaut theory.
It just goes to show how much bullshit I can speak. It just goes to show that I don't shut up. What is that? That's Ancient Aliens theory. Should I say that? I guess I should drink for that.
I look back over
Oh my God, he has a fucking Tolima fighter jet pin. George is dripped, dude. Oh my God. That's actually fucking swag, dude. That is so cool.
We have to wonder how they could stack 100-ton stones perfectly.
Yeah, and
That guy also has a Tolima fighter jet pin. Why did this guy not get one? I mean, I guess he has like the like Egyptian scarab beetle necklace. That's cool. Maybe that's like a sign of status or something. The other guys haven't earned that yet.
Yeah, no, look, by now it's clear that we've all aged like fine wine.
I hate to disagree, George. You've not aged like fine wine. You've aged like apple stock. The man is magnificent. He looks like he has spent a long time in high winds, and I respect that about him. Oh, we're going back to 2010.
Sites and quarries. Without such equipment, builders could never construct modern skyscrapers. Yet thousands of years ago, ancient civilizations were accomplishing the same work while constructing their monuments and temples using massive stones.
I don't know if I would phrase it like that. The same work is not the same work. They're very impressive, but they are not skyscrapers. So already a bad parallel, but I'm sure that that's gonna be the only time that happens in this episode.
Did they cut these massive stone blocks with hammers, chisels, and copper wire?
Yes.
As mainstream archaeologists suggest.
Mainstream
Could they have
archaeologists.
lifted and transported them without a pulley system or the wheel? Or did
What? They did have the pulley system.
ancient civilizations possess advanced technologies that have since been lost to science?
All right, I'm gonna do I say this every time I hear these people talk about, you know, ancient high technology that's been lost to science, because I actually agree. I think that there is an ancient lost technology that ancient people have or had that helped them do this that we do not possess today. And that is the power of a well-organized and motivated community. If you put a large group of people with their mind to creating something magnificent to withstand the test of time and signify their civilization, they can literally move mountains. We don't have that now. So we still achieve some pretty amazing things, but we do it with we got our supply chain and our equipment and our, subcontractors and all that. And don't get me wrong, we make some amazing stuff, but you gotta remember that when you were building these pyramids, it was like a monument to a god on earth. Like, you could pretty much do anything with a labor force motivated by something like that and just enough of them. So I don't know, that's the ancient lost technology. Big shocker, not lasers.
At Giza, you just don't have the pyramids. Linked to the pyramids are what Egyptologists call valley temples. It doesn't take a rocket engineer that when you go there.
Why are the people in this tripped out? Who's this dude with the fucking fancy watch and the cardigan? And the scarf, a corduroy jacket? God damn, Robert. Drink every time one of these guys is iced the fuck up.
Whereas the pyramids are built with blocks of 2 to 3 tons, these temples, which are minute compared to the pyramids, are built with blocks of 100 tons. Why would they want to use 100-ton blocks?
It's like, okay, let's do something, but let's do it as difficult as we could possibly do it.
Yeah, that's the explanation, right, though? That's what people, do. That's, our whole thing. There's the quote about, I don't know, going to the moon. We're going to the moon not because it's easy, but because it's hard. We could have just not gone to the moon. It would have been way easier than going to the moon, but we did it because that's what's driven our little monkey brains from, hitting rocks against each other to, streaming Ancient Aliens on people with a Google subscription. There's a lot of things that are done now that are done a lot more practically because, we have a society that functions differently, but you can find examples of people doing things that are really hard for pretty much no reason all over the place. It's not that uncommon. It's kind of the way that our brains work.
The reason why I am convinced
Hey, George.
that sophisticated technology was utilized in these ancient rocks is because if we go to a stone quarry today and look at the scope of machinery required to accomplish similar things, those machines are huge.
Yeah, and if you went back in time to look at the way that a wheat field was worked and you saw 1,000 people out there threshing it by hand, that doesn't look nearly as impressive as a modern combine going through a field, even though there's only one guy working that. It's because we've refined our efficiency and our technology. When you have a lot of people to throw at something, you can make that thing happen. I don't know how to make that more clear. It's great to have all this technology now because you don't need as many people to do it. So that makes sense. We've accounted for less people working at one job with equipment that is capable of doing the work of more people.
What I have actually gathered over the years is information that seems to actually argue against that notion that they had simple tools.
What he found has proved to be both revolutionary and controversial.
I'll drink for controversial.
If you look at the Giza Plateau, they had to have had somebody on site who's saying, okay, I need a block this size, and then getting a block to them that size, stat, immediately.
Wait, what? I feel like a lot of these people have just never worked a day of actual, labor in their life or have never met. There's supply chains for this shit. One, I don't think every block was, millimeter cut to order to fit in. And two, that's just that would be up to someone in a supply chain. They're standardizing the size of the blocks come in, maybe there's a place where all the blocks arrive, they measure all of them, they figure out where all of them are gonna go if there's discrepancies in size. The fact that this guy is, hi Lupin's ass, how's that? Is that nice? Thank you. It's just crazy to me that a guy can be I don't really get how the supply chain worked for a construction project, and therefore it must have been aliens.
Immediately.
While searching several miles north of Giza at Abu Ruwash, Dunn stumbled upon a clue when he spotted a granite block containing a deep cut.
The only way that they could have actually cut that thing was with a saw that was 35 feet in diameter.
The idea that ancient Egyptians used giant saws provoked much resistance from mainstream archaeologists.
Mainstream archaeologists!
Was convinced.
As an ex-machinist, I look for tool marks I look for them everywhere I go. And I could be accused of, well, you know, if you're going to look for something, you're probably going to find it because you're looking at it through a certain filter. Accept it, I agree.
That was a very poor explanation of that. I don't know what we were supposed to be looking at that was a machine mark. That was like a guy saying that a thing was cut with a giant circular saw and kind of just, that was it. I didn't get any actual display of how that conclusion was drawn. I assume it's because it was slightly curved, so the implication is that it was like going into a giant wheel. A giant wheel is kind of interesting though. I mean, other, cultures have used water power to power enormous, wheels and things. It would be very hard to push a stone into a wheel, and I would imagine that the cutting power you'd get from a wheel would probably be even less than the power you could get off a large hand tool with people putting their backs into it. But I don't know. And I guess that's the whole point, because they kind of just plant a seed of like, hey, here's this thing, which is weird because I'm telling you it's weird, and the only explanation could possibly be this. Why? Not gonna tell you. Let's move on to the next one.
There seems to be an impression on the side of Amun's buttock where it meets the bench, where there is an undercut. It was the slip of a tool, and therefore it must have been a tool that was quite efficient.
What? You couldn't have got a closer fucking picture of the thing you're talking about? They put like a YouTube arrow just pointing at his thigh, and they're like, yeah, you see this? That's evidence of ancient lost high technology.
Dunn also believes that the large depressions in the ground at Giza are not boat pits, as is claimed by mainstream archaeologists, but
sediment.
were actually used to hold the 35-foot saws.
And that they ran the blocks through the saws before they put them in the Great Pyramid.
Okay, being totally for real, that's very cool. I don't know, I'm not saying whether or not I believe it, but at least it is something that is founded in like some form of reality. He is explaining something that people could reasonably create. It's big, but they're building pyramids, so I'm not surprised by that. He's not saying like lasers. So I don't know if I buy that. This might be some poor bastard that just got roped into Ancient Aliens because he has a theory that's slightly different than the mainstream paradigm. But I think that's kind of cool, and actually does give some credit to Egyptians, and is a neat theory for cutting of the stones. That one gets one thumbs up from Milo.
The 3 largest man-made stones in the world are found at the Temple of Jupiter at Baalbek in Lebanon. A nearby quarry contains an even bigger stone, known as the Stone of the Pregnant Woman. This giant rectangular block weighs an incredible 1,200 tons. To move it today would take the strength of 21 heavy lift cranes.
All right, few things there. Baalbek, always talked about in a lot of the pseudo-archaeology world, and I'm not gonna sit here and act like I have a great explanation of it. That's part of it. But it doesn't really matter that we don't know the exact means that they used to move it, because the one thing we know for sure is that they moved it. It is there. There's evidence that it was moved. So clearly they had something. And that's where kind of the question mark comes in. And it's fine to speculate about that question mark because we're trying to get to the bottom of it. We all want the same answer. But Occam's fucking razor. Like, we know how Michelangelo carved the statue of David, but if I was in like a post-apocalyptic world and I found that, I would think that you need like, some insane lost technology to do it when we know the files and sand grits and shit like that that he used to create something so magnificent. So yeah, there's obviously a lot of ingenuity and engineering that went into moving these things that has been lost, but that does not mean that the most logical explanation is fucking aliens. Pseudoscience people also always go to this whole like moving massive rocks with modern technology and stuff like that. They always talk about how many cranes you would need to lift it. And I don't know if that's intentionally deceitful or not, because the worst possible way to move a heavy stone is by lifting it. Imagine you're making a patio or something and you got like 20 bags of fucking Quikrete, and each one of those things is pretty heavy. Think about which one would be easier, picking up the bags and carrying them over, or you and a buddy put like a ratchet strap around the bottom of the pallet and just drag the thing across the yard. Yeah, I get it would get caught in the dirt and the grass and stuff, but my point is, it is way more efficient to drag an enormous weight than lift it off the ground. That's the weird thing that they always say with the pyramids, where they're like, how did they lift the Queen's Chamber stone? It's like 300 feet off the ground or whatever. It's like, well, they didn't lift it there. They built the pyramid up to that point and dragged that enormous stone up there like they did with everything else and put it on top.
We're supposed to accept that the people who build the pyramid.
Damn it, he's dripped out. Drink.
The wheel, did not have the pulley, did not have iron. In fact, they had nothing. With brutal
They had nothing.
manpower and pieces of strings. The contact.
Oh my God. Do you hear yourself, bro? Holy shit. They were nothing. They just had brute manpower and pieces of strings. Yo, they built the pyramids, dog. Why do you have to be such a dick?
How did prehistoric civilizations cut such intricately designed patterns in solid granite?
Slowly. Next question. Oh my God, Jesus, we're 10 minutes into this. Holy fuck.
Palm Springs, California. Master stonemason and
Bakersfield,
sculptor Roger
California.
Hopkins uses a variety of
Modesto,
tools to
California.
help him
Nexus of ancient alien civilizations. Palm Springs, California. Landing site of the gay aliens.
such as diamond-tipped wires and polishers, enable him to fashion works of art out of huge granite blocks obtained from nearby quarries.
I already see where they're going with this, and the difference between what he's doing here and what ancient people did is that he can do it really fucking fast because he has power tools. You could do any of this with fucking manual labor if you took the time to learn how to do it and didn't have soft fucking hands.
Yet even with these high-tech tools, Hopkins cannot replicate what ancient civilizations accomplished thousands of years ago.
That is 100% bullshit. That is 100% bullshit. He could absolutely replicate what they did hundreds of years ago. Maybe he just really sucks at his job, I don't know.
The precision on some of the work that I've seen is just incredible. It's possible to do by hand, but
There you go, that's it. The guy that works with stone, Roger Hopkins, subtext stone sculptor, said it's possible to do by hand. Whatever the but that follows doesn't fucking matter because the people who built these structures didn't have power tools. They were master artisans and skilled craftspeople. No one has those skills today, not because it's like lost laser technology, but because we now have tools that have made those skills and those practices obsolete.
but it take an incredible amount of time. Plus, you have to have years of experience to be able to pull it off.
Yes, that's literally what I'm saying, bro. Wow, I can't believe they even included that soundbite. Like, anyone listening to that, you know, should be able to immediately tell that it's like, well, then anything they say here is like beyond speculation.
In my opinion, the most tangible pieces of evidence that we have regarding possible extraterrestrial technology is when we look.
This is totally possible to do with hand tools. It would just take a really long time. What do you have to say to that, Giorgio? Well, my opinion, nah, I don't think so.
We ourselves today could not replicate what our ancestors allegedly accomplished with stonemasonry.
I don't know why they say that so much. That's got to go on like the bingo card too. We could not replicate today.
Puma Punku is a large temple complex located on a high plateau in Bolivia.
That's nice.
The people who lived here had neither a written language nor the wheel. Yet somehow, they built one of the world's most complex structures.
How did they do it with no profit incentive? I need a snack. Cookie.
Ancient alien theorists view Puma Punku.
There it is, ancient alien theorist's view. Ooh. It does not mix well with cookie.
But the fact that the stones as such are of such tremendous design that it requires concepts of mathematics which are far beyond anything we are actually using right now. Yet somehow in the past...
What about these rocks requires a knowledge of mathematics that we don't have now? Motherfucker, we have a telescope in space that can see the light of a galaxy warping around like its own gravity. I promise you that we can understand these fucking rocks, dude. Jesus.
Somebody has made that for a specific purpose and in a way which even computer programs today would kind of go, how is this possible?
These rocks are so complicated, even a computer doesn't know how to do it. Have you ever, like, a CNC machine, a fucking CNC machine. Like, they can machine, like, metal down to, like, fractions of a fucking millimeter with a computer. I saw this video once, Jesus, this is like hanging out with Milo at a bar. I saw this fucking video once where a guy had, like, machined, like, a hole through a piece, like, a metal cylinder and made, like, another cylinder that fit inside it. It was all very exhilarating, honestly. But the point is, they were so perfectly machined that one could not be put inside the other because of the air pressure in them. Like, it was so perfectly cut that the air wouldn't be able to come out to let the rod drop into the hole, you know? So if you're telling me that we have technology that can do that bullshit just for fun for some guy on fucking Instagram Reels, I promise you, we could make those rocks. I got my cylinder stuck in a rock. It is imperative the cylinder remains unharmed.
Are over 40 to 50 tons each. What can you tell us about this?
Boy, they had their stone cutting abilities, you know, pretty well fine-tuned for 5,000 years old. I mean,
they did.
It's almost unbelievable.
Almost. It's almost unbelievable. You know what we call that? We call that pretty believable. That's another way of phrasing that. Glass half full kind of situation, you know?
I mean, it would be difficult for us with our equipment to get that kind of precision.
Difficult, but not impossible, I would imagine. Have you just gone to like a fucking like garden center? You ever go to fucking Mahoney's Garden? Is that too regional? Is Mahoney's Garden nationwide? Fuck yeah. Brighton, Chelmsford, Concord, Falmouth, Osterville, Tewkesbury, Winchester. Never mind, that is a hyper-local analogy. Mahoney's Garden shout out. If you know, you know. Okay, Mahoney's or not, I'm sure you have a garden center nearby. You ever just like gone into the part where they have fucking bird baths and, you know, like little stone angels and shit like that? I mean, I guess a lot of those are made out of cement, but a lot of them are also carved. Again, I'm not like calling it easy. I don't have the skills to do it, but I would imagine that if your job is to cut stone with power tools, you could make this. Like, in the comments, if you're someone that's done stuff like this, tell me. Correct me if I'm wrong. Would it be hard to cut a stone with modern fucking equipment? If that's their whole pitch here, that they had to have something on par with modern equipment to cut these stones, it shouldn't be hard to do with modern equipment either. It should be fucking easy. Rah!
Let's talk a little bit about inside boxes.
Ooh, I was afraid you were gonna.
Now we're talking, George. Now we are. Let's talk a little bit about inside boxes. I need another drink for that, though. You gotta make it to the 15-minute mark before George starts telling you what you really want to know.
Use what they have, these computer-driven CNC machines, which have diamond tips, and you have a template that, you know, the computer follows, and even then, it may not come out as perfect.
What? That's
Because
even better!
Even though you
Also, why didn't they try and make that shape to demonstrate the difference? Probably because this one would look, the CNC machine one would look a lot better. Or it's because it isn't possible.
Because even though you can tell that obviously this piece broke off, nowhere in here can you see any imperfection. It's like, and by the way, when you're there, if you go with your finger over these edges and you put a little bit of pressure on your fingertip, you can cut yourself. This is how sharp the edges are.
I hate pulling the I don't believe it card because that's what these guys do all the time, but I'm most of the way through this, so I think I can do it. George, I don't believe you. George, you're a liar and you will spend an eternity on this ship. Like, I feel like you even need a particularly sharp knife to like push your finger onto it and cut yourself. Like a dull blade, you could put a decent amount of pressure on and not hurt yourself.
There actually are ancient Incan legends that suggest that they had the capability of softening the stone. At Sacsayhuaman, for example, we find these gigantic stone blocks, gigantic stone walls.
Been there, drink.
Where it looks as if those stones were molten, put into place, and then the stone hardened again.
Oh, that was good. That was a good pseudo-archaeology 1-2 punch. There's an ancient legend that says this, and it looks like. Are we gonna talk about, you know, chemically testing the rocks to see if there's any evidence of that? No. Of course not. Because all we need to know is there's a legend that I've chosen to interpret in this way, and man, it really looks like it, and that's what I want to believe.
Several hundred miles north of Pumapunku, Machu Picchu sits high atop the Peruvian
Been there
Andes.
too, drink.
I can't help but think that whoever was behind this thought the process through from beginning to end. They didn't quarry the rock and then decide, how the heck are we going to transport this? They knew from beginning to end what needed to be done with whatever techniques and technology they were going to use, so that this was no big deal.
You should talk to that guy earlier who didn't understand supply chains. I have a feeling that this very meticulous city was planned from the beginning. Yeah, fucking probably, dog. What does that have to do with aliens?
Based on his experience, Mike Dunn believes the simplest way to build the Great Walls of Machu Picchu would have been to transport small rocks to the site, then melt them, and use molds to fashion the exact size and shape needed.
I'm glad that he thinks that. That's excellent. That's excellent for him. It's a lot less believable than the giant spinning saw. I feel like that is both cool and at least partly believable. The molten rock thing I don't highly believe, but I agree. That's a logical line of thought. If you had technology that could melt and cast stone, it would be a lot easier to transport a lot of little rocks than really large ones. So why don't you prove what sort of technology they used to do this? The fundamental evidence, the foundational evidence wouldn't be, I think this. It would be, here is evidence of how this was possible and evidence that it was done here.
I have a stone torch, which I use for sometimes shaping granite. And I mean, it generates a temperature of in excess of 3,000 degrees. 3,000 degrees. That's a lot.
I really feel like the stonemason guy is someone that they interviewed and they just took all of his sound bites really out of context. Like, it doesn't sound like he's actually arguing for this. It sounds like that was an indignant response of him being like, dude, do you have any idea how much energy that would take? And they clipped it and put it in such a way that it sounds like he's saying, and it's amazing they could generate that much energy.
There's only two possibilities then. Either God did it, which we really don't think happened.
Oh,
or
whoa, curveball.
Some high-tech civilization from another planet came and showed them how to do it. Then took their materials and tools and went back
That
home.
is the same shit, bro. That's like the same shit.
None of these ancient monuments that were constructed or manufactured by extraterrestrials. It was us, humans, who built it with extraterrestrial technology.
It's entirely possible.
I love when every time they've shown the Pumapunku, you can watch it on Pumapunku with a People subscription. Every time they've shown the Every time they've shown the Pumapunku stones, since Giorgio said the thing about pressing on it too hard and cutting yourself, I've been looking at the edges and it's just killing me every time. That looks like it would be actually quite pleasant to rub yourself on.
There must have been thousands of ancient structures made of mud and wood.
Oh, we're back in the studio. Fucking 20-minute mark. Good Lord.
But when you build with stone, that's for the ages.
And stone is much harder to work with and build structures, especially megalithic.
Stone is much harder to work with. Goddamn, bro. Take it easy. Guy can't spend fucking 10 minutes in a room with Giorgio Tsoukalos without thrusting a little, you know?
Were transported in many cases from miles and miles away.
Yeah, and that is one of the smoking guns of the ancient astronaut theory. Transportation and also the stonework. I mean, some of the stonework is so perfect, you can't even put a dollar bill in between the fittings.
He said the thing. I go to that wall in my garden. You can't even fit a debit card between it. It's crazy how all the rocks aren't slightly levitating off of each other. What the fuck? Give me fucking something. We're doing prop comedy now, bitches. Okay, if anyone ever asks you, can I have $1?
Can I have $1? Actually, yeah, I
Here.
have $1.
$20. $20 probably won't fit between it though, because it's bigger.
Yeah.
If anyone ever asks you, dude, why do you keep all those bricks in your kitchen? Show them this video. See, it comes in handy sometimes, guys. All right, Giorgio, you fucking smart ass. Let's have a look at this. We got 2 bricks stacked on top of each other. Can you fit $1 between them? Fuck. You can't fit a fucking dollar between them because they're stacked on top of each other. I'll keep trying. I swear to God, I'm not just trying to make this difficult. Like, look. Oh, I can get a little under there. And then watch. Cool. Now it's fucking stuck because they're fucking bricks stacked on top of each other. The other one people always say is a credit card. Honey, I swear I'm not gonna fuck up one of your cards. So you go and you fit a fucking, well, fucking no shit, you can't fit a credit card between them. Why would you be able to fit a credit card between them? Guys, I don't say this lightly. Atlantis. I know. I already see the chat blowing up. Chill the fuck out for a second. I'm walking closer to the camera. That's how you know this is serious. So I wanted to give a little update here. And that is that I'm working on it, and I have finally some updates coming. I see you guys asking about it constantly. Correction. I can't miss you guys asking about it constantly. And believe me, there's no one on earth who wants to get that video done more than myself. Because I love Awful Archaeology. It is my favorite series I've ever done, and I want nothing more than to get back to actually making it. But I've dug my grave, I'm gonna fucking lie in it. I am not doing another episode until Atlantis is done. So I am finally putting together my schedule for how Atlantis is going to come out and the exact details so that you guys actually have something to go off. I'm still formulating it because I don't want to make more promises I can't fucking keep, but to give myself enough time, I decided I'm gonna tie in the announcement for what's happening with Atlantis with this year's episode of the Uncut Vermont podcast, the annual April Fool's video. So get ready for that, mark your calendars, it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. In the meantime, since I'm sure we've all been missing Awful Archaeology, I wanna show you something that is very, very nice. Check this out. How do you hold a poster open? Check that out. We got a fucking Awful Archaeology poster, baby. You guys know I absolutely love the style of like old maps and like infographics and things like that. And so we decided to do this in kind of the style of like a 50s classroom educational poster, one of those cool like screen print things. And this is every single artifact that we have talked about in Awful Archaeology so far. Each one contains a little blurb written by yours truly, explaining a little bit about what it is, as well as hand-done illustrations by my wonderful partner Zaboski. It's got all your favorite or least favorite things that we've talked about, as well as a little Easter egg hidden in there that some of you may find, and is available now on the shop, miniminuteman.com, or in the description. As all of you know, I don't do any sponsorships on this channel, which is stupid of me because an account of my size could be raking in literally like tens of thousands of dollars off of shelling out to some fucking VPN company. But frankly, you guys know my convictions, and I would never be able to live with myself if I did that. So I understand we still have to make our bag, and so I want to do that by putting beautiful things out into the world that you guys will appreciate, instead of shelling out for some evil corporate overlords. The proceeds of all of the merch go to keeping the channel running, paying the team, and a percentage cut even goes to the artist that created it, as part of my pledge to work with artists in a world where, you know, art is valued less now than ever. Oh, I totally forgot. Awful Archaeology stickers as well. I already took a couple of these off, as you can see, but I put them on my water bottle. We got the Dendera light on there. Everyone also always talks about that sticker, which I see why it's the best sticker I have. We got the little Oldaway man up there. Look at that, 2 skulls next to each other. Awesome, love the Offspring. So if you want to support the channel and get some cool swag to decorate your apartment, your house, or your water bottle, then click on that there link in the description. Go ahead, do it right now so that you don't forget later. It'll be open in another tab when you're done watching this video. I'm waiting. Thank you all again for your support. It means the world to me and helps us do what we do here. And again, April 1st. There's gonna be info about what the fuck is happening with Atlantis. So stay tuned. Okay, back to it.
The Inca established their capital city of Cusco, which thrived for over 300 years. At an elevation of more than 12,000 feet, looms the ancient fortress of Sacsayhuaman.
Drink, I've been there.
Whose immense stone walls may hold secrets which predate the Inca themselves.
My feeling, very strong feeling, is that we're looking at a two-phase
oh my God!
construction site. In
Look
many
who
of
it
the
is! It's Grandma! Oh, fuck. Papa made an appearance. I mean, this is gospel.
Science be damned.
Fuck. What? Why am I even looking into any of this? I didn't know that it had his endorsement. They should have just fucking said that at the beginning. Man, you know what that is? That's a finish your drink, of course. Oh, fuck. Oh, it's making the Graham Hancock in the room feel a little better. New rule. Graham Hancock agree. Fuck. Graham Hancock appears, finish your drink, open another drink, finish that one too. Author, Underworld, The Mysterious Origins of Civilization.
Author, Horsecock.
Author, Horsecock.
According to conventional archaeology,
that's mainstream enough.
Culture built the older sections of the site approximately 1,000 years ago. But the Inca themselves believed the site was constructed by an earlier unnamed race of people, led by a powerful god who descended.
Hey, yo, we got the unnamed race of people. It wasn't just a different group, it was a different race. A more civilized white race, potentially, from the stars. Ah, Jesus Christ. They didn't actually say white. I'm putting words in their mouth. That always weirds me out, though, whenever they go race. Like, you didn't have to phrase it like that. You could just say a different group, another civilization, another culture.
Throughout time, there has been witness to a god named Viracocha that visited the South American people and blessed them and gave them all types of technology. And
oh, so we're believing in God now. Okay, heathens. Jesus, who is this guy?
Some of his physical characteristics make him stand out from the indigenous population because he was a very tall, pale-skinned, white-haired being.
They didn't actually say white. I'm putting words in their mouth.
His name was Ben and he was from Colorado.
Yeah. His name was Ben and he was a bud tender from Boulder. His name
was Ben and he's opening a brewery in Boulder, Colorado.
His name was Ben and he's in an open relationship. His name is Ben and he wants to know if you'll join his polycule. Where the fuck is my cat? Let me smell you. Why won't you let me smell you? No one ever lets me smell them anymore. Come here, Schminky. We're learning about the lost white civilizing race.
But did this god Viracocha actually exist? Could he have been as ancient?
Dude, these jokes just write themselves. I was like, here I am, I'm gonna Mystery Science Theater an episode of fucking Ancient Aliens, and they're funnier than I am. God damn it.
As ancient astronaut theorists suggest,
a
visitor from an alien world. If so, it might help to explain just how the ancient site was constructed.
It takes about 10 to 20 men to move a 1-ton rock. So when you're talking hundreds of tons, you're talking thousands of men.
There you go. Looks like we got it, guys. Fucking figured it out. There's this interesting video I saw a little while ago of, I think it was, like the Ohio State Highway Department or something like that, building a new highway overpass bridge. And what they did was they built the entire bridge span next to the existing bridge, and then in one night, they demolished the old bridge and slid the new bridge into place to reduce the amount of time the bridge had to be closed for. And the way that they did that was not only with machinery, but by literally lubricating the ground with Dawn dish soap to decrease friction and make the giant bridge span move a lot quicker, so they needed a lot less energy for it. And that's one of the theories that I heard when I was in Peru about how they moved these giant stones, where obviously you could brute force one of these things with a few thousand people, and I'm sure they did use a few thousand people, but the Incans used llama fat all over the place. They used llama fat mixed with dirt as sort of like the mortar between the stones at Ollantaytambo. If you run your finger between it and go like this, you can still feel like the oil on your fingers. And like any fat, it's slippery. So one of the theories is that what they would do is they would get fats and oils and things like that and literally like lubricate the grass and the ground in front of where these stones were. They were still immensely heavy and you needed thousands of people to move them, but if you can reduce the friction friction between a massive object and the surface it's sliding across, it's a lot easier. It's a work smarter, not harder. So it's a really good example of an actual potential lost technology. Something like that would not really leave any actual evidence behind, other than maybe a spoken memory, which is long lost. Not brought to them by aliens, not brought to them by a fucking white blonde guy from the sky, but learned themselves because they were fucking adapted to their environment.
Talk about granite, you're talking about a composition of feldspar, mica, and quartz. So you need diamond to actually braid it or cut it. We would use diamond.
We would use diamond, you know? That's the only way you could do it, really, is with diamond. You can cut something with something of the same fucking hardness. That's how they did it in Egypt. The copper functioned like paper in sandpaper. The paper is just a structure that is used to rub the aggregate onto the material, and that does the cutting.
Together with blocks of stone weighing 50 or 100 tons.
Graham's back. Drink.
Cut and shaped like...
This is also kind of crazy, because Graham Hancock does so much work to try and separate himself from Ancient Aliens theory. Like, he desperately wants people to not think that he believes in ancient aliens. And I don't necessarily think that he does. I'm not arguing for that. But it's crazy that he's been on episodes of Ancient Aliens. I feel like if it wasn't something that you at least somewhat subscribed to, you probably wouldn't go on it. Well, actually, that's not entirely true. They've got real archaeologists on it because they chopped them out of context. Either way, weird that Graham's on here.
If you look at the style the Sacsayhuaman wall was built, the blocks look as if they've been molded like putty.
Looks like.
If you can mold stone into place, then all of a sudden, as crazy as this sounds,
George,
it makes more sense because there is no mortar that has been used.
The Andes is the longest mountain range in the world. And that's because there's a fault where everything is crushing together and it's pushing the Andes Mountains up. And with that comes massive tectonic activity where things are breaking and moving and shaking and breaking. And so the Incans and every other culture that's lived in this area knew that. And so mortar really is only so effective. You can only use it in some small places. I mentioned the mortar earlier for the Ollantaytambo terraces, and those terraces were just farming terraces. There wasn't like homes on them or anything, so it wasn't super important. But if you use mortar as a key part of your construction, it runs the risk of falling apart in an earthquake. So these giant stones are a very elaborate solution. So yeah, it's really impressive and really cool. And the reason they don't have mortar is because they don't fucking need mortar. And mortar doesn't work in this environment. It's people that have become adapted to this place over literally thousands of years.
According to local legend, a bird was responsible for the seamless construction.
According to
Legends say
local
the-
legend, a bird. So the bird was responsible for the construction. But let me guess, because the bird is flying, that means it's those primitive savages' way of viewing an alien spaceship.
The winged creature carried a powerful chemical in its beak.
Napalm.
A substance capable of melting stone.
Sacsayhuaman means the head of the falcon, falcon's head. But maybe it was some falcon.
Oh, I can't take the fucking pan flute music seriously. Like, I get it, okay? If I made, like, a video in a certain part of the world, I would probably try and use music from the area. But, I don't know, in Ancient Aliens, it just has a bit of a... It's got a weird vibe to it. It's got a weird vibe to it, you know?
Or maybe some bird people who could connect with the place.
But is it possible, as ancient astronaut theorists suggest, that the mythical bird might actually have been a spacecraft?
There it is!
Piloted
He said
by
the thing!
alien visitors known to the locals as Space Brothers.
Believe it or not, my academic research is not coming from the bottom of this bottle, so don't take this as scripture. But I'm not entirely sure how we know the dates of, you know, the Incan imperial style found at Ollantaytambo or at Sacsayhuaman and stuff like that. I trust it is in line with the Incan timeline. We can look into that. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, that those Incan imperial stones that you see at Sacsayhuaman are actually something that was built from a previous culture, a previous race. That just means that whatever group that was had the technology to do it. And therefore, it would make a lot of sense that the Incans would look upon that construction just like Giorgio would and be like, wow, how the hell did they do that? And so they probably also would have come up with their own theories, which are literally exactly what they are doing here. These Ancient Aliens folks really crack me up because they think they're at like the pinnacle of civilization, where like, with all that we've discovered today, the conclusions we're drawing here are founded in some sort of reality. But it's like, dude, for as long as humanity has existed, we have been attributing things we don't understand to fucking gods and, you know, beings from the stars and supernaturalia of, you know, varying degrees. So it's really funny to think that if the Incans truly didn't build those things, they made their own oral history to explain it, and then, you know, Ancient Aliens theorists today quote it as though it's scripture, when really it's just two groups of people that didn't know how it was done. That's very bizarre.
I don't discount human ingenuity, but that type of engineering that we still can't duplicate today must raise a flag for further consideration.
We still can't do it today,
almost
guys.
Extraterrestrial in a sense. Someone had to have taught them these techniques.
All right, guys, pop quiz. I want you to imagine you've been teleported back in time to this site and you have to recreate those walls. How do you do it? Here's how I would do it. I would use clay and I would make a model and I would do it on the ground. I don't know how big, but I would make all of the stones that I want. And then, because we clearly have a reasonable understanding of math and geometry, I would use all of the little stones that have already been measured and fit together in a malleable, easy way to scale up and make the big stones. Let's say an inch equals a foot or something like that. You could measure the base of the stone, it's 3 inches, so you know that's gonna be 3 feet. And then the top of the stone is 12 inches, so that's gonna be 12 feet. And you use that as a model with measurements to cut the stones to shape. And then when you assemble all of it, you have the fucking thing exactly like you made it in clay, a malleable substance. It wasn't like they just went into this and were like, I don't know, cut a stone with a weird shape and then we'll just kind of look at it and see if we can find something that fits in. Like, oh my God. There is a way to do this smarter, not harder. And they're just not, like, it's just not clicking with you that I'm standing on business.
There is no other place like Puma Punku.
It's interesting to see how those blocks fit together so perfectly in the past, but today, the blocks are scattered all over that location.
Yeah, but even in ruin...
Yeah, but back in the day, you couldn't have fit a dollar bill between them.
It is clear that that place was an incredible ancient piece of magnificent engineering.
It looks like complete shit now, but back in the day, I mean, it was probably put together so well it could only be explained with aliens.
Here, 45 miles west of La Paz, isolated high in the Andes Mountains, lie the mysterious ancient ruins of Puma Punku. Mainstream scientists believe the site...
Mainstream scientists, drink.
The site was originally constructed about 2,000 years ago. But in 1945, archaeologist Arthur Poznański proposed that Puma Punku was much, much older.
Who is Arthur
Poznański?
This is called Google debunking, guys. You should give it a try sometime. Puma Punku. What? Poznański. Arthur Poznański. How do you spell that shit? Ah, yes. He developed a hyperbolic narrative of Tiwanaku as the cradle of American man and tirelessly promoted it in Europe and the Americas. Like many pioneers, he was not trained as an archaeologist. His theories were based on little concrete information, but he defended them with invaluable passion. His theories were strongly influenced by intellectual trends he lived through and participated in, including racist anthropology. Huh. Well, I mean, that sounds like he's the kind of guy who we should take as an authority figure in pretty much fucking everything.
By examining the structures and what he believed were their original alignment with the stars, he dated the ruins to 15,000 BC.
Dated by looking at their alignment with the stars. Graham Hancock, you don't have an original bone in your body. For anyone watching with no background in archaeology, you may be able to feel your hair stand up in the back of your neck when you hear stuff like that. And you'd be correct in assuming that dating something based on its alignment with the stars is complete bullshit. Absolute bullshit. There is not a fucking lick of logic or scientific basis behind that. That is just not even, it's just not even. It's not even.
we have had some circumstantial dating, but we have been unable to date the stones of Pumapunku themselves. They could be thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of years old. We don't know.
They could be thousands. They could be hundreds of thousands. Fuck it. They could be millions of years old. We don't know fucking anything. Scientists are stupid and it was all aliens. It is amazing the shit that they could get away with in these like pseudo-archaeology documentaries with just saying like, I don't know, fucking might be. Like, yeah, I guess technically you're not wrong. It could have been built by aliens. It's just overwhelmingly unlikely that it wasn't. But when you phrase it like that, it makes your brain go like, well, it could have been built with, you know, thousands of people and a lot of energy, and it could have been built by aliens. Both of those theories have the same amount of weight behind them because they both could be.
How did these structures get built? We're talking about
radio host. We got a fucking AM radio host on here. Come on, Giorgio. You couldn't find just like a fan to come on and, you know, go beast mode? Jesus. Ufology truly is the greatest interdisciplinary of all professions. I don't know if I'd call it a profession, but you could be anything. You can be a radio host. You can be an Austrian. You can be anything and be a ufologist.
Mainstream scholars believe the andesite blocks found at Pumapunku were formed by hand with primitive stone tools.
Were formed by hand by these stupid, ignorant, pathetic savages.
But some researchers point to the intricate stonework as evidence of the use of advanced precision technology.
You can achieve right angles and smooth fucking surfaces with like fucking aggregate. You can sand this shit down. Have these people ever just like rubbed rocks together? Like it will tend towards being smooth. You can, dude.
Technology.
One of the amazing things here at Pumapunku is the precision of the blocks.
Look at that. I'm be real, it's a very good 90-degree angle. I'm not discounting that at all. Super impressive. But the editors throw a little screenshot of this on screen. You can see him wobbling the square. It's not like a perfect 90 degree. If he puts the black part down on the top, the bottom part is slightly off because it's not a perfect fucking angle. It's really close. I'm not discrediting it. It's really good. It takes skilled craftspeople to make something like this. But if their whole thing is like, it is literally perfect and can only be done with lasers, it's not fucking perfect.
You can see with
Look
this
at how much
block
it's
of granite
wobbling. There's
that it's
light
really been
shining
cut.
underneath it, bro.
Very
God
accurate.
Damn. Look at how shitty that looks. Dude, you didn't watch this footage back while you were there and be like, fuck, we should find another stone, or like, you know, at least I can fudge it so people don't see that it's coming off the rock. The whole point of that square is to be a perfect 90. If it's coming off, it means it's not a 90. Jesus.
But how could such primitive people, living perhaps tens of thousands of years ago, have produced such flawless stonework?
That mentality is literally the entire problem with this, because these people are viewing humanity as the fucking, you know, ethnologists of the late 1800s did, as moving on a gradient from primitive and savage to civilized and technologically advanced, when that is not how it fucking works. As much as I love, you know, Sid Meier's Civilization, history does not move through the gradient of technology. That's just not how it happens. But you are literally looking at mountains of evidence that they did have the technology to fucking do it. You never question how the fucking Colosseum was built. You never question how the fucking Parthenon was built, but you sure as shit question how this was built. Again, I want to underscore that I am not calling people who believe in this theory, who promote this theory, who are interested in this theory, racist. But you can see how theories like this, just like many other ancient history theories, have this weird undertone of racism. It's just so weird, bro. It's so fucking weird. Why y'all gotta be like that?
The most interesting and unusual stones.
Bro is out here wearing the fucking Indiana Jones hat, just like brushing a rock. Hey Google, what do archaeologists do?
Each of these small drill holes are basically evenly spaced.
Okay, all right, Jesus Christ, fucking Indy, let me show you how you do that. Oh, gee, here's a really large rock. I want to put drill holes at the same distance. How could I possibly go about doing something like this? I suppose this would be completely impossible without a fucking, whatever that is, a micrometer, micrometer, if you will. Oh wait, I have a brilliant idea. Hey, Dave, hand me that stick. Thanks, Dave, that's really nice of you. Awesome. Fuck. There we go. Look at that. I want all of the fucking holes to be this far apart. Hey Dave, can you hand me that pebble off the ground? Thank you. I will now put this fucking stick on the rock and mark each end, and then move the stick and mark it again. And would you look at that? The whole fucking rock has evenly spaced marks across the whole thing. And now I can take a dowel and fucking aggregate and drill a hole really slowly on each one of those points. Boom, fucking done. Jesus. Experimental archaeology in your own living room. Who needs 2 bricks and $20 when you got 1 fucking chopstick?
And how anyone could think that primitive human beings could have done this. You know, it's just crazy.
Dude, shut the fuck up. Get out of here with that. I mean, look around you at the evidence. Do you see anything that would suggest these people knew anything beyond ooga booga banging rocks together? Ooh. Eric, I would like to apologize. I swear I'm doing this in your honor. You are genuinely an inspiration for what I do today. I do not take my crash out in vain, okay? This crash out is, it's the yin to your yang, you know?
But if otherworldly technology was used at Puma Punku, where is the proof?
Bro, that's what I'm asking. That's it. Are you gonna answer? Please do.
In Danville, Illinois, machinist and toolmaker Chris Nunn has put the Puma Punku stone through the ultimate cutting test, using both laser technology and a modern diamond saw. Though age has worn the surface of the ancient example, the comparison reveals distinct differences.
You've got vitrification on the laser cut side, and then of course you've got circular tool marks on the side cut with the diamond saw, and then whatever tool they used to cut the ancient surface must have been a different method.
Okay. That's good. I'm glad they didn't try and say it was one of those. It wasn't the saw or the fucking melting. But fucking aggregate. But fucking aggregate, dude.
Do you think it's possible that some type of a diamond precision tool was used on the old surface, but because it was such a long time ago, that over time the surface became a bit more rough, and we're talking 10 or even 15,000 years ago?
That is a reasonable speculation.
Oh. The chains of logic are just delightful, truly delightful. I gotta say, I fucking love Giorgio. I know I'm crashing out over this because that's like what I do here, but like, you know, my lifelong goal is to smoke a fucking fat one with Giorgio. That's all I want out of this life. Giorgio, get in touch. Let's fucking do it sometime, all right? We could make a collab for the centuries. Can you think of how mutually beneficial it would be if you and I sat down in front of a camera together? Exactly.
Whatever machinery it is that they had was able, with amazing accuracy, to replicate one after another. That's very sophisticated.
Yeah, it's an ingenious way of building a...
All right. I don't think we should be trusting these guys to tell us that this level of precision is evidence that all of these blocks were cut from the same mold. Because once again, you can remake nearly identical copies of the same thing with very simple technology. Let's say the middle of the fucking H block is this length. I'm bringing my broken chopstick back. You go around to all the fucking stonemasons, you say, yo, fucking Chris from Boulder, this is how big the middle of the H is supposed to be. Let me mark it for you. And then he says, that's awesome. Do you want to join my polycule? I need a fucking, okay, you know what? I'm saying it. I'm putting it out there. Video number 35 million that Milo, you know, is going to promise that someday will get made. Are you a stonemason in the greater New England area? Email me. if you think that you could offer some insight in shit like this, because I would love nothing more than to meet like an actual stonemason who works with stone and can demonstrate how shit like this can be done with hand tools, because I guarantee you that it fucking can. So I've been yearning for a video where I can be like, this is how this is done, but I don't have the skills to do it, which is, these guys clearly don't either. So if you are a stonemason, if you know a stonemason, if you have, you know, share this video with some fucking guy that does it online, I don't know, let me know. I would love to do a video showing how to do a fucking right angle with hand tools or make something fucking flat.
After years of research, mainstream archaeologists have said the massive stones were hewn at quarries over 60 miles away and then rolled to Puma Punku on logs.
What nobody talks about is the irrefutable fact that we are at an altitude of 12,800 feet, which means we are above the natural tree line.
All right, George, riddle me this. If this was built 2,000 years ago, the climate was different 2,000 years ago. So maybe there would be trees. But putting that aside, let's just assume that there's no fucking trees. Dead stop, full stop. Wouldn't he be surprised? Not saying he's wrong. If you're making wooden rollers, do you think you're gonna make a goddamn 60-mile long road of wooden rollers to roll the fucking stone there? No, you're gonna have like a handful of wooden rollers and you're gonna be moving it and putting the rollers in front. And if the stone is originating from a quarry 60 miles away, you don't need to cut the goddamn rollers up where the fucking building site is. You cut the rollers close to the fucking quarry and you put the things in front of it and you roll the thing up there and some poor bastards drag their asses back to roll the fucking next ones.
Would have required some kind of super technology, levitation and anti-gravity, huge lifting vehicles, something that ancient aliens would have had.
It's just one of those things. It's just one of those days. How do you fucking know what aliens have? If I stopped every time I had to say something, I'd be here for years. This is literally the thing that I always say about pseudoarchaeology. Pseudoarchaeology is always at an advantage to actual archaeology because it is so easy to say some bullshit and it takes so much more time to undo it. It takes one idiot to throw a stone into a lake and 10 wise men to get it back.
To make these almost exactly the same, it's almost like a Lego system of interconnecting blocks, and that is unique on this Earth.
But that doesn't mean that it was built by aliens. There was just a quality control guy that went around and was like, fucking Chris, the goddamn H block needs to be this big. I've shown you 12 times, and no, for Christ's sake, I don't want to join your fucking polycule.
Many of the blocks were prefabricated blocks.
Eric!
Prefabricated blocks means...
Eric, this one's for you. Ah, the sky's blue. Eric is smiling down at us. Rest easy, my friend, rest easy.
That Puma Punku are the ruins of temples made by the Aymara. Aymara are the highland Indians up there. But the Aymara were Stone Age people. They had not even writing.
Oh, Eric, you're putting me in a tricky position here, my friend. I don't want to seem like I'm dancing on your grave. So I need to be very careful with my words here. Eric is an older gentleman, as you could see, even at this time. And so I will give him some slack. But once again, he is falling into the exact same trap of they were a primitive Stone Age people who didn't even have writing. That's because technology does not work like that. It is not a linear progression as the sort of Eurocentric worldview would have one think. Y'all, I'm gonna be totally honest. We are halfway through this episode and I have just finished my second cider and I don't think I can get through the rest of this. Not because I don't want to and because I can't get more shit-faced. I always can. But I don't need to give my editors 8 hours of footage 2 weeks before we need a video out. So I think I'm gonna call it here, and I may pick this up. I may pick this back up because I'm invested. I'm invested in Giorgio's hair. If you want to see me finish this episode, let me know. I would be more than happy to. But for now, I'm gonna go drink some water, and I'll hand it back over to Milo in the studio. I don't know what I was thinking, that was something that I could do entirely in one sitting. That was really awful. But I'm a man of my word. I'm gonna finish the episode. I just need to sleep it off. If you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate if you could leave an interaction. Comments, likes, shares, and all that good stuff helps boost the video in the algorithm, and it doesn't cost you a cent. Ad revenue is what keeps the channel going and allows me to continue making this content for free here on YouTube. Your interactions help more people see it, which allows me to continue making it for free. Like I always say, it's like tipping the bellhop. I also want to give a big thank you to everyone watching at the live premiere, Sunday nights, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hi, everybody. Hi everybody, how's it going? And of course, a massive thank you to my editorial team. I may be the one in front of the camera, but they are the only reason these videos look half decent. Each one of these videos represents hundreds of hours of work between about 10 different people, and they are the true beating heart of this team, so join me in giving them a big thank you. Also, for our 3 million subscriber special, I want to do a bit of a meet the team, because there's a lot of new people that you guys have never met before. Give everyone a chance to, get on camera for a second. So if you have any questions that you would want to ask the team, drop that in the comments. And lastly, if you want to support the channel directly and get some beautiful swag to decorate your house or apartment, head on over to the store and grab a poster, grab some stickers. We got pins, we got all kinds of fun stuff. Like I said, all the proceeds go to helping keep the channel alive and are split with the actual artist. Myself and the rest of the team are very grateful for any and all purchases. Like I said, it helps keep the channel running and also means that we don't have to take shitty sponsorships. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for watching. My name is Milo Rossi. Remember to stay curious, stay inquisitive, and most importantly, you can stream it on Papatuku and with a Crumble subscription. Wow, Crumble like the cookie? You're telling me I crumbled this cookie?
Hey, what's up, guys? Today, this is Mini Minuteman, and I'm here with Schminky.
Car.
This is
Car.
Ruben and Schminky.
Have car.
Now kiss.
It's on Peepoo. You can find it on Dongus. Find it on Peener. You can find it on Pungus. You can stream it on Pungus. You can throw it back, crazy style, on Pungus. Take it back now, y'all. Crisscross TV with a Crumbus subscription. Only with the Platinum Extension subscription. Plungle TV bundle. Dude, Plungle TV, you can find it on Plungle. It's streaming now on Plungle, yeah. If you get the edition, the Plungle Platinum edition, the Plungle bundle. Yeah, you can only watch it with the Plungle bundle. Rather fascinating and like something that would reasonably be creatable by actual people. Fellas, why don't we have alcoholic milk yet? It's 2026. Where's the alcoholic milk? Kahlua. Yeah. Don't they ferment yak milk in like Mongolia or something? Who up fermenting the yak milk? Who's trying to get the yak milk fermented? High-pitched whine. WebMD, what does that mean? House or your water bottle, head on down to the description. Did one of these buttons just fall off? How did that even happen? Bro, I didn't even do anything, dog. I tried to fit my girlfriend between 2 bricks. God damn it, there's little fragments of bamboo all over the couch. One of these things is gonna impale my leg and I'm gonna get fucking sepsis.